All right, let's talk about something that can either make your code elegant and easy to manage or a complete tangled nightmare. Today, we're cracking the code on object relationships. In the real world, everything is connected, right? A driver uses a car. A car is made of different parts. Well, object-oriented programming is all about modeling these very same connections so our software can work in a way that just makes sense. But here's the million-dollar question. How do we take those real-world ideas and translate them into clean, functional code? Because if you get it wrong, you end up with a spaghetti mess. But if you get it right, that's the foundation of brilliant software design. And look, choosing the right relationship isn't just some academic exercise. This stuff directly impacts how reusable, how flexible, and frankly, how readable your code is. It's literally the blueprint for a solid application. So, we're going to use this diagram as our map. We're going to explore three key relationships, starting with the most casual one, association, and drilling all the way down to the tightest bond, composition. You can think of it as going from a simple handshake to a lifelong commitment. So let's start at the beginning, with the most common and honestly the most flexible relationship of them all, association. Association is what we call a uses-a relationship. Basically, two objects interact with each other, but they aren't fundamentally part of each other. They're independent, leading their own separate lives. So how do you spot one? It's actually pretty simple. Just ask yourself these questions. Can these two objects exist all by themselves? Yup. Is one's life dependent on the other? Nope. If you answered yes and no, congratulations, you've got yourself an association. A perfect, real-world example of this is a student and a faculty member. I mean, they definitely interact, right? But if a student graduates or a professor retires, the other person doesn't just disappear. Their life cycles are completely independent. Okay, next up, we're going to look at a relationship that has a bit more of an ownership vibe to it. Let's talk about aggregation. So, back to our map here. We're moving one level deeper. Aggregation is basically a more specific type of association. Think of it this way. Every square is a rectangle, right? But not every rectangle is a square. Aggregation is our square. Aggregation is a has-a relationship. It's a kind of whole-part dynamic, but, and this is the key, the part can totally exist on its own outside of the whole. The real litmus test for aggregation comes down to this. The whole does not manage the part's life cycle. The part isn't exclusively owned, it can be shared, it can be passed around, it can live its own life. Think about a person who has an address. That address existed before the person moved in, and it'll still be there long after they move out. The address object is completely independent of the person object. That right there is aggregation. And now for the final and strongest, most restrictive relationship of them all, I like to call it the death pact. This is composition. We've made it to the very core of our map. Composition. This is the tightest bond possible. It's an even more specialized form of aggregation, where the two objects are basically inseparable. This is the true part of relationship. The part is absolutely essential to the whole. It has no meaning, no existence on its own. Its entire life is managed by the whole. The test for composition is, well, it's pretty definitive. Does the whole create and destroy the part? Yes. Can that part belong to anything else? Absolutely not. And if you delete the whole, does the part get destroyed with it? A big, resounding yes. If you get a yes to all three, you've got composition. The classic example everyone uses, and for good reason, is a car and its engine. The car is composed of the engine. An engine can't belong to two different cars at the same time, and if the car gets totaled and sent to the scrapyard, that engine is going with it. So what does this actually look like in code? Well, check this out. Inside the car's constructor, a new engine is created. Then, when the car object is destroyed, its destructor is called, and delete PTR engine gets rid of the engine. The car object is in complete control of the engine's entire life. Okay, deep breath. We've defined all three, from the casual uses-a to the hardcore death pact. Now let's talk about the important part, choosing the right one for the job. This table right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. Seriously, screenshot this, save it. It lays out all the key differences side by side. When you're designing your classes, come back to this logic. And this isn't just abstract theory.
We actually have a visual language for this stuff called UML. That solid diamond for composition, it screams unbreakable bond. The hollow diamond for aggregation shows ownership but with some distance. And that simple line for association, that's just a peer-to-peer link.
Now, if there is one thing, just one thing you take away from all this, please let it be this. Always, always choose the simplest relationship that gets the job done. Don't over-engineer your code trying to perfectly model the real world. Your goal is working software, not a perfect philosophical model. Simplicity wins. So as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this to think about. On your next project, what's your default? Where do you start? Do you begin with the loosest connection possible and only make it tighter when you absolutely have to? You see, understanding these relationships is so much more than just writing code. It's about learning to think like a software architect.